Oh, welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And I know we're a day late on the XFL show, but we had 3 shows on Monday, so we felt like we needed a break here at the XFL, at the Prime Sports World. So we took a day off, and we're back on Wednesday, Hump Day, bringing you the latest with the XFL. We give you our Week 7 recap and our Week 8 predictions. And before we get into anything, a big shout-out to the Orlando Guardians, who got off the schneid and recorded their first victory this season. So kudos to them, and they beat the previously undefeated DC Defenders. So that's a shout out to them. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we go live basically every single day. I've also shared the streaming platform. If you do happen to miss us live, you can catch all of our podcasts over there. That's in the chat. I'm of course your host, David On Point Huffman, and right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. But happy Hump Day, TJ. How are you, buddy? I know you just got back home from the gym. What'd you do at the gym?
Shoulders and back.
Ooh, all right.
Shoulders and back, leg days tomorrow, and yeah, go from there.
I went to the gym earlier too, but all I did was play basketball there for about an hour and a half, and then I went home. So I played like 3 games of full court.
I legit might have to get a membership at NIU's rec just so I can play basketball. Like, there's nowhere.
Man, there's literally nothing like playing basketball at the rec, dude. It is so much fun. Like, you just play. Like, I'm not even good anymore. Like, all of the skill that I had even when I was at Northern is just completely deteriorated. It's like if I have to handle the basketball at all, I will probably turn it over. But I can still shoot it pretty well. But nothing about that. Let's talk about the XFL and just to check away about week number 7 before we get into each individual matchup.
Oh yeah, it's okay. Now it's down to the nitty gritty. This is week 7. We got 3 weeks left. Teams are shaping out who like the contenders are starting to separate themselves. I think the one team that we thought that was gonna be in this thing to the very end, they have hit a rough patch like no other.
Yeah, I mean 3 in a row, right? They lost 3 in a row.
They lost 3 in a row, and it's just like, oh my god. And
we kind of talked about this last week a little bit. Yeah, they're getting into a little bit tougher of their schedule. Like, they played some cupcake matches and they won all 4 of those games, but now they've played 4 tough teams in a row. They played the Defenders, they played the Sea Dragons, they played the Battlehawks. All teams that look like they're going to be there at the end, and they've lost all 3 of those games.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, like that's the nature of the beast. But I think teams are going to, as long as the XFL is a thing, like, we're going to see how crucial and how more meaningful these games are, because it is a shorter season than what football fans are accustomed to. Like, this is 10 weeks.
And then the playoffs is only 2 weeks, so it's going to wrap up quick.
Like 10 weeks, that's 2.5 months. That's it.
Yeah, and it's barely even enough time to really figure out who you are as a team, especially with very limited training camp. But let's get into each individual matchup. Let's talk about the first one. This is the Sea Dragons going into Arlington, taking on the Renegades, and this Seattle Sea Dragons continues to be on the hot streak as they've won 5 games in a row, including this one where they win 24-15. Ben DiNucci is proving to probably be the best quarterback in this league right now, as he has the most passing yards and probably the front runner for the MVP, if I'm being completely honest. But Ben DiNucci, 21 of 32, 266, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The pick he threw was horrible. It was a down the stretch part of the game. It's like you're supposed to just take a drive to basically ice this game. Throw a terrible interception, terrible. He was also their leading rusher, 52 yards rushing. Jordan Visay, 3 catches for 76 yards. Josh Gordon caught the lone touchdown through the air for the Seattle Sea Dragons. On the other side, really rocky quarterback play again from the Arlington Renegades. Drew Plitt. I know they got rid of Kyle Sloter, but they also traded for Luis Perez, but he did not play in this game. So
that's a tough ask. You traded for a guy, and then hey, if this quarterback sucks, we're going to need you to come in. And
but Drew Plitt didn't play particularly well, so I imagine we're going to see Luis Perez next week. 19 of 29, 213 yards, a pick. Devon Smith, leading rusher, 12 carries, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Sal Cannella is the leading receiver for this team, 4 catches for 64 yards. But this is a game that basically was dominated from beginning to end by Seattle. They give up a touchdown towards the end. But this is a game that basically was dominated from beginning to end by Seattle. What's your takeaways?
Yeah, it's like you said, they didn't score really until Arlington did. They didn't score until it was 2:18 left.
Yeah, they had 9 points at halftime. There was only 9 points scored the entire second half. So,
but because of the rule stipulation and how the conversion rate, so you get that touchdown, right? Then you go for 2 or you go for 3, that makes it 20. So they went for 2, they failed. So that would have made it 24-17 with 2:18 left. All you have to do at that point, convert to 4th and 15, get the ball back, and then now Seattle's reeling.
But unfortunately, they didn't convert that 4th and 15.
They did not.
And the rest is, as we say, history.
Yes, it is. And I think if you're Seattle,
these teams would be very even. Actually, 371 passing total yards for the Seattle Sea Dragons, 339 for Arlington, 1 turnover apiece. They're separated by time possession by 30 seconds. They're separated by first downs by 2. Actually, Arlington had more first downs than Seattle in this game.
I think if you're Seattle, you don't want too many games with Ben DiNucci as your leading rusher. You don't want that.
Probably not.
No. Probably not, right? But yeah, this, I think it's between. Well, yeah, they are definitely. They got to be the hottest team, right? Outside, now because DC lost, they won 5 in a row.
5 straight. So
they won 5 in a row, man. That is, man.
Yeah, and then they've beaten some good teams on that path. I mean, they beat the Roughnecks, who we thought were one of the premier teams in this league at one point.
That kick-started it.
Yeah.
That kickstarted that was the first one. It was just and that was the unlikely one. It was hold on, they beat who?
Actually, I think they beat St. Louis first.
I think it was Houston, then St. Louis, right? Or was it the other way around?
Let me take a look. So they started with their first win actually came against the the Brahmas. They beat the Brahmas, and then that's when they went on the winning streak. They beat the Vipers. They beat the Vipers. Then they beat the Brahmas, and then they beat the Roughnecks, Orlando, Arlington, and then this week they get the DC Defenders, which will probably be for number 1 seed on their side of the bracket.
Okay, yeah, you're right. All right, yeah. If I don't know, they have a running back that's actually really goddamn good, and I think he's dealing with
Darius Bradwell. He had a 2-yard rushing touchdown in this game. He also had the 1-point conversion in this game as well.
I don't think it's him. It's another
TJ Hammonds is the other running back they have. 7 carries and 45 yards. He averaged 6.4 yards a carry.
He's a bit of a wrecking ball. He's very hard to tackle. But it's neither here nor there. They'll figure it out. Like you said, they are I think it's between them and DC when it's all said and done. That's
Well,
just
they technically can't be the last two teams because they're in the same division. So one of those teams is not going to be playing for a title. And I also know that Ben DiNucci, yes, he has thrown for a lot of yards, and he's the leader when it comes to passing yards. But he also has thrown the most interceptions in the league.
yeah.
Like you
Some
have
of
to
them are
kind of
head scratching.
right.
Some
The one he threw in this Arlington game was like super head scratching. I don't know what he saw, what he was even looking at, because he makes you so frustrated. Because I think it's like the possession, the play right before he threw the pick, he threw an absolute dime, and it's yeah, that guy deserves to be in the NFL. And then like the next play, he throws an absolute duck interception. Like it just makes you so baffled. Like why is this play it's like so up and down?
I think it's um I ain't gonna call it arrogance. I'm not gonna call it that, but I think it's or maybe it is
It
arrogance.
could be a little bit.
Maybe it is that hey, I've been an NFL quarterback before, and I can fit this ball in that tight window, or I can make this pass, or I can stuff like that.
It also because he doesn't have they haven't been teammates for that long, so the rapport isn't exactly built up. But we'll see. But we're gonna definitely monitor that because yeah, his interceptions sometimes are just ridiculous. Moving on to the next game, we got the Vegas Vipers beating the San Antonio Brahmas in Vegas. If you have not seen the Rod Smith, I think it's a touchdown or a 2-point conversion. Yeah, it's a touchdown. His hurdle, it is super nice for the hurdle touchdown. But on the San Antonio side of this, more inconsistent quarterback play. Kurt Benkirk, 22 of 31, 179, one touchdown, one pick. Jaquez Patrick, 12 carries for 20 yards. Landon Akers, their leading receiver, 6 catches for 75 yards. And Fred Brown caught the lone receiving touchdown for San Antonio. On the other side, Jalen McClendon, I guess he is now the starter there for Vegas as they trade away Luis Perez. Actually played pretty well in this game. 21 of 31, 264, 2 touchdowns. I don't know anything about McClendon. I couldn't tell you where he went to school. I couldn't tell you literally nothing. Leading rusher, Rod Smith, 7 carries for 39 yards. Matthew Sexton, leading receiver, 4 catches for 72. Sean Price, Rod Smith, all had receiving touchdowns in this game. It's Vipers win big. Basically smoke San Antonio in this game.
Again, new quarterback. No, I'm like you. I don't think San Antonio knew too much about him. Right? There's tape on Brett Hundley. Oh, there's tape on Luis Perez that they would have kept him. There's tape on the other guy that they have because at one point they had 3 quarterbacks. There's no tape on this guy. Who is he? All right. So I'm pretty sure the first time they got introduced to McClendon was that game.
Yeah, so he went to NC State for 3 years. Then he transferred to Baylor, and then he was on the practice squad of the Ravens and still the Washington Redskins that they were still called at the time in 2019. And then he was on the Washington Wildcats, which is an XFL or USFL team last year, and now he's on the Vegas Vipers. They just basically signed him this week.
21 to 31, 264. 2 touchdowns. That's not bad for your debut. The question is, are you the starting guy going into next week?
Well, I think it matters what the status of Brett Hundley is, but I think if you play that well against a tough defense in San Antonio, as a team that we talked about has a really tough-nosed defense, you basically dominate them from beginning to end. San Antonio did turn the ball over 3 times, did themselves no favors. They got smoked by 11 minutes in time possession. They also got beat by 136 yards in total yards. I mean, that's just how you lose. The Vipers still had the problem with penalties, as we talked about last week. 12 penalties for 158 yards in this game. They still managed to blow them out by over 14 points. San Antonio just doesn't have a quarterback that can really compete at all.
And when they can't run the ball, this is what you get. We've seen that, right? 12 carries for 20 yards. That's nothing. That is not running.
As a team, they ran the ball 16 times for 30 yards. That's 1.9 yards a carry. That's not what you're looking for.
No. And this is one of the best rushing teams in the league outside of DC, obviously. And because of their bad quarterback play, when they can't, well, not bad. Well, yeah, it is bad. I was gonna say inconsistent, but no, it's bad. It's just all around bad. And we are we already know what they're looking for in the next XFL cycle. Like,
Yeah, I mean they're going to need a quarterback. I mean, if somebody was going to be a cast off from the NFL, will end up on this team. But I'm not sure what else really needs to be said. The Vipers, they get their second win. Shout out to them. But yeah, this is the Brahmas just don't have any quarterback play, and the Vipers they play hard at least. Give them that.
yeah. Moving on to the game of the year.
Game of the year, 100%. DC Defenders goes into Orlando undefeated, come out defeated. The Orlando Guardians come out defeated and come out with a victory, 37-36. And yes, this was absolutely the game of the year so far. Jordan Tiamo, again, another efficient game. 21-29, 285, 3 tutties. De'Aaron King, one pass for 12 yards and a touchdown. Abram Smith, I think, is the leading rusher in this league right now. 18 carries for 127 yards and a touchdown. Chris Blair, leading receiver, 5 catches, 139 yards and a touchdown. Lucky Jackson caught 2 more, and Briley Moore caught another. On the Orlando Guardians side, Quentin Dormady continues to be a revelation for this Orlando Guardians team. As he took over 2 weeks ago, he's been excellent. It makes you wonder what they could have had if they hadn't suspended him at the beginning of the year. 27 of 34, 328 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also punched in 3 on the ground. And then Cody Lattimore, former NFL player, leading receiver, 7 for 93 and a touchdown. Katie Cannon, Jordan Thomas also had receiving touchdowns in this game as the Orlando Guardians get off the schneid, finally get their first win of the year.
So I went back and looked. Outside of that ass whooping that they took from Houston, because they lost 44-16, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to week 5, you had that game against Vegas. You lost 35-32, right? Week 6, you lose 26-19 to Seattle. Week 7, you finally get your win. Since that week 4 loss, you've played 3 games in a row now where you've looked absolutely like a good team. Right? Your losses have been.
I mean, a lot of that is connected to the improved quarterback play. I mean, Quentin Dormady took over in that Vegas game. I mean, he took that momentum from the Vegas game into the Sioux Dragons game, and then he basically put his stamp on this team this week.
And you basically those last 2 losses were 1-score losses. Like, you get a touchdown, convert, who knows what happens. Yeah, to your point, like, who knows where this team would be if they had him the entire time, because the whole Paxton Lynch and then Quentin Flowers.
And there was also what was the kid that went to FSU, right? Was on this team too for a little while.
FAU, I think it was something like that.
And Francois, right? Was it Francois?
Yeah, was DeAndre Francois playing here? Did he
I think so, right? I think so.
And yeah, well, he did go to Florida State, but we would question the coaching, because Quentin Flowers would lead a drive that would get points, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal, right? We would see them move the ball, and then the next drive, here comes Paxton Lynch. It's like you're doing it to yourself. Like, I have no sympathy for you. Like, you're doing it to yourself. And then insert Quentin Dormady, who can do a little bit of both. Like, he can move and he can throw. So it's like, I don't need to do the whole 2 quarterback thing anymore unless he gets hurt.
Knock on wood. We don't want that.
Right. Knock on wood. Yeah, I'm not asking for somebody to get hurt.
I know. I don't want to get
this. I think it starts, like, not only is the quarterback play been better, the defense has been better. The defense has been opportunistic. They've been thirsty. They've been hungry. Like, it's like there's a swag to them. And you saw it in that Vegas game when it's just like, all right, we still in this thing. Like, we creating turnovers, and you saw it. You especially saw it in the Sea Dragons game when they just, like, when Ben DiNucci just kept taking chance after chance, and they're like, all right, we breaking on the ball, we getting deflections. It's like, all right, we gonna get one of these. We gonna pick one of these passes off. Like, it was like a swagger to them about it. It was like, and they got one, and the defense has carried over into this. So, like, obviously, this is DC is just like, hey, man, I think it was bound to happen. That's why I'm gonna chop that up. So it was bound to happen.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to finish the season defeated or undefeated. I think they were eventually going to fall. They also had 9 penalties in this game for 91 yards.
Uncharacteristic.
Yeah, uncharacteristic, undisciplined. On the other side, 6 penalties for 35 yards. These teams were actually fairly even. 88 yards separate them in offense. Only 1 extra turnover for Orlando. 3 turnover first down separate these teams. Where Orlando really won this matchup, really though, is in time possession. 9 more minutes of time possession over DC. Those are the numbers that are usually flipped when we cover DC games. Usually they're the team dominating time possession. Not in this
because
one.
of their run. Yeah, because they run ball and
Yeah.
they have at any given point they have at least 2 guys that's a threat to run the ball. Whether it's Te'amu with the key, or like you said, Abram Smith, who's definitely challenging Ben DiNucci for that MVP award. Like in my opinion, like
Well, if Ben DiNucci continues to throw just bombastic out interceptions, just insane interceptions, yeah, he's going to cost himself the MVP.
18 for 127 and a touchdown. Yeah, 30 carries for 195 yards. Like that is, you win that game.
Yeah.
You win that game. Jordan Te'amu, 21 of 29, 285 and 3 touchdowns. His name is in the MVP race.
Yep. I mean, he's over the last few weeks. I mean, a lot of it when he during the early part of the season, I think a lot of people didn't take the defenders seriously because they were winning the games on the ground and running the ball. But now over the last few weeks, they've really opened up this offense for Jordan Te'amu to really use his arm to win games. Like that's what's the shift has kind of been here.
And I think, because when teams play them, they're like, all right, they're a run first team. We're going to load the box. We are not going to allow you to run over us. But guess what happens? Jordan Te'amu lights you up with his arm. Then it's like, all right, now we got to spread it out again.
Yep.
And then what happens? Abram Smith starts to gas you.
Yeah, but yeah, huge shout out to Orlando Guardians. Kudos on getting your first victory. It's got to be really good for all those for the players, the head coach, the organization as a whole, to get out the schneid and get that first victory. You love to see that kind of stuff in the. You don't want to see you don't ever want to see any team run the table defeated. So it's a good shout out to them for getting a victory there. To the final game, St. Louis Battlehawks go into Houston and put another hurt. This is 3 in a row now for the Houston Roughnecks. They lose 24-15. AJ McCarron, he has thrown the most touchdown passes so far in the XFL this year. But in this game, 24 of 36, or 26 of 34, 222 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brian Hill, second leading rusher in the XFL, 11 carries, 53 yards. Darius Shepard, Akeem Butler, Gary Jennings, all receiving touchdowns for the St. Louis Battlehawks. And then on the other side, Brandon Silvers must have gotten hurt because he didn't even take a snap in this game. But Cole McDonald came in 15 of 32, 106 yards, 1 touchdown.
No, I just think they went with Cole McDonald to start.
Yeah, maybe. I don't really understand.
No, like Cole McDonald Cole McDonald got the start. Like he got the start.
Brandon Silvers has been playing well. I know he didn't have a semi game the week before, but and then Max Borghi, 9 carries, 46 yards. Cedric Bird, the second, 751. Deontay Burton had the one lone receiving touchdown for this team. It just seems like this team is unraveling a little bit here. They're not playing good defense. They're not playing good offense either. This is a Roughnecks team that when we talked about them a couple weeks ago, we're like, yeah, this is probably one of the class teams of the XFL, but I'm not so sure anymore, basically given the last couple weeks of how they played.
Yeah, Wade Phillips.
I think they benefit by the fact that they play in the worst division in the XFL, a division that includes the Renegades, the Brahmas, and the Guardians. So they're basically going to be the number 1 seed in their division by default.
Yeah, Wade Phillips has definitely lost.
Also crazy is the Battlehawks, and one of these 3 teams is not going to be a playoff team in the XFL. The Battlehawks, the Sea Dragons, and the Defenders. One of those 3 teams is not making the playoffs.
Yeah, the Wade Phillips has definitely lost the reins a little bit on this team. And you can say losing is the reason, but a lot of the time teams are a reflection of their coach. Right? Like Wade Phillips, if he's walking up and down every time something goes wrong, if he's walking up and down the sideline, snatching his headset off, cussing up a storm, if you can't keep your composure as a coach, how long before your players start to lose theirs?
Well, I think we already saw that a little bit during the early part of the season. I know I ragged on this stuff a little bit earlier, but all of like the profanity that was used, even when they were winning games, was like with
No,
Brandon Silver. It was just like, and you actually have seen Wade Phillips actually take the headset off so the mic doesn't pick him up while he's swearing up a
yes,
storm.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it's like. But nonetheless, like I ain't gonna say like that. Like when you cussing and whether I ain't gonna say like that's losing composure because it's not. But when it's like when the game against Seattle, like when they had their first loss, and Wade Phillips challenged what he thought was a hands to the face penalty on Seattle's what would be their left D end. So his left tackle, he thought his left tackle got a hands to the face, which ended up being a sack fumble to end the game. He challenges that. And the best part about the XFL is like when they review stuff, we get to hear exactly what they
Yep.
think. And Dean Blandino is like, yeah, no, that's not hands to the face. He got him right in the shoulder. And you hear the hot mic pick up Wade Phillips like, yeah, of course it's not a penalty. It's like, all right, dude, it wasn't. Like, I don't know what you saw. I understand you're doing it because
Well,
the
I think
game is on the line.
that was a desperation challenge, right?
It was a
Like,
desperation challenge. Like the game's over. Like I understand that, but for you to be like, for you to get this mentality, oh, they're cheating us. They caught like no, they're not.
well, I mean the penalty the penalty discrepancy when it comes to penalties has been pretty drastic the last few weeks. This week a little bit better, as we only had 6 penalties for 49 yards on the Roughnecks with this 2 for 24 for the Battlehawks. That's just disciplined play, like just playing disciplined football.
Just play discipline. And yeah, Cole McDonald. So who did they play last week? They played DC, right?
Yeah, let me double check that.
Week 6. Yeah, they played. Yeah, they played.
Because ESPN, for whatever reason, each team doesn't have their own page, so you
So
can't
you
just
got to go
click.
by week. You got to go by week. Yeah, yeah.
No. What I do actually is I go to the XFL.com, and then I go to each individual team, and then I click on their schedule. And for some reason, on the XFL.com, they don't have the schedule like with weeks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have like their next upcoming games, and then they have their past games. It's just a weird way to set up a website. Anyways, they played the DC Defenders last week, and they lost that game 37-26.
Yeah, they pretty much got outclassed in that game. Like they had that bad second quarter. Brandon Silvers was not
they got outclassed in this game too, but
Brandon Silvers was not good in that game. So and when they brought Cole McDonald in as a kind of a like shot to the arm, the ball the offense looked better. The ball moved a little better. Cole McDonald hit his targets downfield, and Wade Phillips was kind of put in the situation of, hey, what the hell do I got to lose? Let me start this kid and see what happens. And it's just unfortunate that his first start was against one of the better teams in the league.
I mean, it doesn't help that you don't even complete 50% of your passes, but that's neither here nor there. We'll see what ends up happening with them moving forward, but they benefited by the fact they play in a terrible division where they're probably going to make the playoffs by default, even with their poor play.
Right. Poor play of late.
Yeah, like
because that's the thing. I think they got to such a hot start. Like you said, they won their first 4 games. While they were winning, the rest of the other teams were just god awful and have been god awful.
But yeah, that's been our recap of week number 7. Hope you guys checked that all out. Let's talk about game ball. TJ, I'll let you go first. Give out your game ball for week number 7 of the XFL before we move on to week number 8.
My game ball goes to the entire Orlando Guardians team for getting their first win of the season and having the game of the year and beating the best team that's in the league. The Orlando Guardians, the entire team.
You know what they say about football? Any given Saturday. I do believe this game was on Saturday, correct?
That was Saturday.
I don't remember now. Yeah, any given Saturday. I'm going to give my game ball to AJ McCarron. Continues to show. He's probably going to end up back in the NFL if he keeps playing like this. 26 of 34, 222 yards and 3 touchdowns. AJ McCarron, get my game ball. Really well played. Kudos to you, brother. To week number 8. And week number 8 starts on Saturday as we got a matinee and we got like a later matinee. No Saturday night game this week, which is interesting. But let's talk about it. So we got the first matchup. We got the Vipers coming off. Vipers going in there, coming off that victory up against the Brahmas, going up into St. Louis, take on the Battlehawks, fresh off beating the Roughnecks. How do you see this game shaking out, TJ? Vipers, Battlehawk, both teams 3-3 and 5-2, or 3-4.
Yeah, I'm going with St. Louis.
2-5 against 5-2. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going with St. Louis. Home team, better quarterback, better coach. No offense, Rod Woodson. Yeah.
Sweep it. I don't think I don't think a lot needs to be said there. Moving on to the next matchup. This is at 4:00 Eastern Standard Time. We got the Arlington Renegades going into Orlando, fresh off their first victory, taking on the Guardians. I actually think the Guardians will keep this rolling.
I don't think the Guardians get 2 on the road.
Yeah, I don't at all trust the quarterback play in Arlington, and I like what I've seen on Dormady. I'll take the Guardians winning the 2 in a row. I got them 2 in a row.
Yeah, I'm sleeping.
You know what's crazy? Like Orlando, so we counted them out pretty early, right? All they have to do is really win 2 more games, and they could find themselves in the playoffs.
I don't see it.
I mean, but they're not that far out of it. To Sunday, we got 3:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got the kickoff. We got the Roughnecks going off against the Brahmas. Both these teams coming off taking tough losses. Roughnecks losing 3 in a row. TJ, do the Roughnecks get off the schneid and bounce back here against the San Antonio Brahmas with whoever is going to be the quarterback for that team?
Man, they better. Hey, if you lose this one, hey, man. If you lose this, you might as well flush the rest of the season. Like if you can't beat this team, if you can't beat San Antonio, seriously, if you can't beat San Antonio, then Wade Phillips, you might need to go. Seriously.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think the Roughnecks bounce back. I think they get the victory here. But yeah, I agree with you. I think if the Roughnecks lose this game too, that South division becomes very interesting as all those teams are kind of right there. Especially if the Guardians win again this week, there's only 2 games separating the first and the last team in that division. To the final matchup, we go to Sunday Night Football on ESPN2. This game kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Easter Sunday, and we have a doozy of a matchup. We got the DC Defenders fresh up taking their first L against the Orlando Guardians, and we'll go into Seattle, into Lumen Stadium, the home of the Seattle Seahawks, take on the Sea Dragons, fresh off winning 5 in a row. DJ.
I think this game might challenge the Defender Guardian game for game of the year.
I think I might agree with you, man.
Hey, but I'm gonna tell you this: hey, DiNucci cannot have the careless interceptions against this team.
Man, DiNucci
he can't be.
You don't want the nooch?
He can't be careless against them. Like those shots those passes that he tried to fit in. Like no, he can't do that. Again, this is not the defense to do that against. And if I can't think of his name, the head coach. If I'm him, I'm gonna tell him right now. Hey, you may think it's open. You may think you can fit it in there. Don't. Like, just don't do it. Like, please.
I think Ben DiNucci will throw. Jim Haslett is the head coach of the Sea Dragons, former NFL offensive coordinator and head coach. I think Ben DiNucci. I think he's gotten away with those interceptions for the last 5 weeks. He's basically thrown one in every game this season. I don't think he gets away with it in this game. I actually have the Defenders winning this game. I think Ben DiNucci throws the pick that cost them the game.
That cost them the game. I can see that.
Defenders bounce back. They get back on the winning ways. They stop the 5-game winning streak of the Seattle Sea Dragons.
I like it. Yeah, I don't see them losing 2. I don't see DC losing 2 in a row.
Yeah, even if this game is in Seattle, I just think that Ben DiNucci is just such a wild card when it comes to his bad decision making at times. Like he has 9 interceptions. Like nobody even has more than he has more interceptions than anybody else by 5 more interceptions. Like he's thrown that many more picks than the next closest guy. Even teams that have like a woeful record are not even close to that.
Mm,
So,
that's crazy.
yeah. So, but it's hard to. It's also a little bit unfair because, like, let's say that like whoever was like if Paxton Lynch was still the quarterback of the Orlando Guardians, like you could probably make the argument that he probably would have thrown 1,000,000 interceptions by now.
Oh yeah.
But Ben DiNucci, 12-9. I think the winning ways ends here. I think DC defender Jordan Tiamo might stamp his claim on the MVP in this game as well.
Him or Abram Smith. I think that's the thing I like about DC. Like they ride the hot wave, and they don't really.
We got Jay Vargas Guardians, baby. Yeah, me and TJ both just picked them to win 2 in a row. As we have them beating the Renegades, man, and getting into the playoff hunt. Guardians, baby, is right.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold off on that playoff hunt thing about them though. Like it's,
I'm in, dude. Let's get nuts. You want to get nuts, TJ? let's get nuts. But yeah, that's been our XFL Week 7 recap and our Week 8 predictions. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. We'll do these episodes every single week. We probably will do USFL too when we get down to the nitty gritty when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, tomorrow's episode we're going to be doing the crossover. We're going to be doing strengths and weaknesses of every team that are quote unquote contenders in the NBA. We're going to do strengths and weaknesses. We're going to have a final debate when it comes to awards. So keep an eye out for that content. Thank you very much for joining us. And please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content that we're dropping here at Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point Humpin. Right there's my co-host, Mr. T.J. Hopkins. And TJ, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir. And the terrible weather that was supposed to show up in Fort Wayne, completely missed us. So thank you for that.
I got hit this morning. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, we were supposed to get tornadoes and stuff, dude. And the cell broke apart in the middle of Indiana, and it didn't make it to us. It's just one of those weird things that happens sometimes in weather. The condition just all of a sudden it just deteriorates, and I'm happy about it. But yeah, I'm David Hubbin. That's TJ Hopkins. We'll be back here tomorrow, bringing you some NBA action. So don't miss that content. I'm Dave. You guys all have a good night. Take it easy, TJ.
See you, man.